What's up, Lifeway? I'm Brandon, and it's another awesome Sunday here. We've got a lot of fun stuff going on, so real quick, let's dive into some upcoming happenings. This week, we got hit with some actual fall weather, and it got us even more excited for our Fall Frenzy event coming up next Sunday, October 28th, from 4 to 6 p.m. It'll be held outside of Celina Junior High, and we'll have fun fall family games, pumpkin painting, candy prizes, and more. As we're all prepping for Lifeway Kids Fall Frenzy, we're accepting candy donations at the kids' kiosk all month. Operation Christmas Child has begun for us. If you haven't heard about it, this is one of our favorite events of the year, where we send some love outside of the United States to children affected by war, poverty, natural disaster, famine, and disease, just by filling a shoebox with small items for them to open. It's something that we can all participate in, and it makes a huge difference to kids across the globe. If you want to join in, grab some info today out in the foyer. Whether you're brand new to Lifeway or you've been attending for a while but want to dive deeper into what we're all about here at the church, we've got the perfect event coming up. Our next Discovering Lifeway partnership class is on November the 4th, right after the service. This is a great time for you to really discover the mission that God has called us to as a church body. We'd love to have you, so go ahead and sign up on your connection card today. Well, that's it, Lifeway. As always, if you want to stay in touch with what's happening during the week, you can hop on over to our Facebook page and give us a like. We keep everything up to date there as well. We love you all, and we're so excited for another great Sunday with 2 services.
Let's sing it out this morning. There were walls between us. By the cross you came and broke them down. Broke them down. And there were chains around us. By your grace we are no longer bound. No longer bound. You called me out of the grave. You called me into the light. You called my name and then my heart came alive. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Feel the darkness shaking, all the dead are coming back to life. I'm back to life. Hear the song awaken, all creation singing we're alive. 'Cause you're alive. You called me out of the grave, you called me into the light. You called my name and then my heart came alive. Yeah. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens. Who's excited to be here this morning? I tell you what, it's a great day. We want to say we are so excited that you're with us this morning. If it's your first time, we're so happy that you decided to come visit us at Lifeway. This morning, let us come together as one body, as one church, unified and just declaring His glory, giving Him praise for all that He has given us. Let's continue to sing. Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind. Deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love followed me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind. Couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God, shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, failure, God, you'll have every victory. You say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. You say I am held when I am falling short, and when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me, oh Lord. Yes, I open your eyes to see the things that make your heart cry, to be the church that you would desire, your light to be seen. Break down our pride and all the walls that built up inside, our earthly crowns and all our desires, we lay at your feet. Let hope rise and darkness tremble in your holy light. Every eye will see Jesus our God, great and mighty to be praised. Come on! God of all days, glorious in all of your ways. Oh, the majesty, the wonders and grace in the light of your name. Let hope rise, darkness tremble in your holy light. Every eye will see Jesus our God, great and mighty to be praised. Church, this morning we're continuing our series, Keeping It Together. There's one resounding theme that's gone on every week, and that's putting Christ at the center. And I know I'm guilty of this, and I'm sure I can say that most of us are guilty of this. We are more than happy to welcome God into the center of our lives, along with everything else. See, Christ isn't in the center, but he's in our circle. He's in that inner circle, but we haven't made him the focal point in that circle. Just like those words just a second ago, break down our pride and all the walls that we've built up inside, our earthly crowns and all our desires. We lay them down at your feet. This morning, church, let that be our prayer. That God, I'm tired of building up walls within the circle of my life. And on one side, there's you, and then there's a wall, and then there's something else. God, I need to move you to the center. I need you to be the center. I need everything to come from you and through you. I need to see things through a Christ lens. Church, let that be our prayer this morning, that with everything, every ounce of who we are, that we give it to Him, that we give Him glory and Him alone, because nothing we do is by our own hands. Everything is given to us from the Father. And if we want more, we have got to put Him in the center of everything. Everything has to flow through Christ, because I promise you, the more and more we try to do it on our own, the more and more we'll fail. So this morning is one body. It is my prayer, and I pray for you that we say, God, here I am. Here I am, God. I'm giving it all to you with everything that I am. May God, can you only have the glory? Let's sing it out this morning. That we're giving it all to Him. And I ask you that that be the prayer of your heart right now. With everything, we will shout for your glory. With everything, we will shout for
Three kids at home and there's no time to play.
Life's a little more stressful each day.
Even when we fall apart at the seams, our family's gonna follow our dreams. So we gotta keep it together, cause we know the future gets better. Even when the world says whatever, the only thing that we can do is keep it together.
Mom, I don't know what I'm gonna do. The science fair is tomorrow night, and my volcano is a disaster. I'll get it.
Thank you, sweetie.
Why, hello there, young lady. Have you ever been interested in learning about topics from around the globe? Because with Encyclopedia Britannica, you can.
That sounds amazing.
It does? Oh, yes. Well, then allow me to introduce you to the letter G, because in this book alone, you can learn about geology, geysers, geometry, and gastronomy.
Oh, sounds wonderful. Guess what else starts with a G?
Gorgeous?
Goodbye.
Oh.
Amy, you're the smartest little girl I know. All the information you need is right here. That science project tomorrow is going to go amazing.
Who would have ever thought that from one single book we could learn about galoshes, gophers, and gum? And this thing only costs $40. What a steal, huh?
Hey there, Bucket. Want to play catch with me to prep me for the championship game tomorrow night?
Jason, did you tell me that your championship game is tomorrow night?
Yeah, Mom, I told you last week.
Oh, boy. Amy's science fair is at the exact same time tomorrow.
Honey, did you know that gamma rays are a real thing? I thought they just made that stuff up for the Incredible Hulk.
Michael, we have a problem. Jason's game is tomorrow. Amy's fair is tomorrow at the same time. So I guess we're just going to have to split up so we can each go to one.
Oh, honey, that's not going to work. I have my employee dinner meeting tomorrow night, remember? The regional manager is going to be there, and I cannot miss that.
So you guys aren't going to be at the big game?
And I thought you were coming to my science fair.
Well, kids, I guess we'll just have to come up with another plan. Heather can drive one of you.
Bingo.
Heather, I need you to take Jason to his game tomorrow night.
I can't. I already promised Tommy that I would go see Total Recall with him.
Well, I guess you're just going to have to call Tommy and cancel it.
No way. My word is all I have. And if I lose my integrity, then what do I have left? Other than my looks and sparkling personality, of course.
Come on. Can we not just have one night together as a family?
Honey, we have nothing to worry about. If the answer starts with a G, we're going to find it here in this book.
Busy calendars. Who's ever been there before? Anyone had a busy calendar, don't know where to go, so many places to be, only one of you? Yeah? Hey, my name is Josh Price, and I'm the lead pastor here at Lifeway, and I am so excited to be diving into the third week of our series, Keep It Together. And the question that we're trying to answer is, how in the world do you keep it together when you've got a newborn, or you're in a dating relationship, and you're in college, or you're just starting out this whole life thing, and kids are now getting into sports, and you've moved to a new town, and maybe your kids are moving out, and you're in the empty nester stage, or you're now grandparents, and we're just asking the question, how in the world do you keep it together when the pressures of life come? It's hard to do. In the first week, we gave you 4 areas that you could begin working on today that will help you keep it together when those pressures come. See, the first week, we told you that you're going to need to build what? Do y'all remember? Build solid. We said that there's 2 different types of families. We had 2 chocolate bunnies, and you don't know what kind of family you've built until the pressures of life come, and we pushed in on those chocolate bunnies, and one was solid and one was hollow. And we said if you want that solid dating relationship, if you want that solid marriage or that solid family, you need to put Christ at the center. See, there's a lot of families who have a Christ-included family, and they bring him out for a show on Sunday mornings, and they worship, and they see him, and then they put him back in his little spot where he belongs for the rest of the week, only to bring him back out again on Sunday morning. And we said that will lead to a hollow family, a family you don't want, a marriage you don't want, and a dating relationship you do not want. If you really want that solid family, you'll put Christ at the center, and once he's at the center, then you can build sacred. Sacred is really cool. You get to choose what is sacred. What's going to be sacred for you in that relationship? You get to choose these things. Lindsay and I, we said togetherness is sacred. We said that God first is sacred, and we said that gumption is sacred. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, go back last week and listen online, because you might have no clue what the word gumption means. But those things are sacred to us, and this is why this matters, is because you will never solve calendar until you've chosen what is sacred, because sacred builds your calendar. It's that important. And here's what's so beautiful about solving calendar based off of what you've chosen to be sacred, is it will cut down on about 50% of your conflict in your dating relationship, in your marriage, or in your family. It's huge. And before we dive into solving our calendars, I want to give you a phrase that I want you to write down. It's kind of like last week's, but it goes along with the message. And write this, it says, since Jesus is now at the center, since you've built solid, new things should become sacred, holy, set apart. Then you put the sacred into your calendar, otherwise busy will crowd out important. Busy will crowd out the sacred every single time. And the second that busy starts crowding out the important, you will start getting a hollow family, a hollow dating relationship, or a hollow marriage. It will hollow it out. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can have the marriage, the family, the dating relationship you've always wanted. And God tells us how to do that. Paul illustrates it in Colossians 3. And so as you are writing that down, if you would open up your Bibles, your Bible app, to Colossians 3. If you're brand new today, we've been saying that Paul is in Rome, he's in prison, and he's writing to the church in Colossae. That's why it's called Colossians. And he's telling them how to keep it together. The pressures of life have come in on these new Christians, and all these ideologies, all these principles, these worldly views have made their way into the church, and these Christians are starting to live the way the world says. And Paul is trying to help them keep it together. He says in Colossians 3:1, since you have been raised to new life with Christ, we talked about this last week, since you've built solid, set your sights on the realities of heaven, where Christ sits in the place of honor at God's right hand. Think about the things of heaven, not the things of earth. See, I read this like 5 times and I totally missed it every single time. But right here, Paul is telling you how to solve calendar. He's saying, now that you know Christ, if you really believe that Jesus came to earth, fully God, fully man, died and came back to life 3 days later, and he is now your king, now that Christ is at the center, it's time that you solve calendar a little differently. He's saying you need to start thinking of the things of heaven, not the things of earth. He's saying there should be a shift. If you are a Christ follower, your calendar should look different from when you knew Christ to when you didn't know Christ. Things should change. If you were here last week, some old things are going to have to die so new things can have life. For you to get that dating relationship, that marriage, and that family that you've always wanted. And the way you do that is you set your mind on eternal things, not earthly things. See, today I just want to help you start to solve your calendar with eternity in mind. It's that simple, but there's 4 lessons that you need to learn for you to efficiently solve calendar. And this first one that we're going to talk about is the basic of basics. But you need to get this so you can get the rest. See, the first well-timed, eternally minded lesson that I want you to write down is this. Your worldview defines how you view time and how you use time. How you view the world, if you look at it with a worldly perspective or an eternal perspective, will determine how you use and view your time. If we were to look at the last 30 days of your life, would I see a person who is eternally minded or worldly minded? What would we see? See, the reason I ask that is because your calendar always reflects your worldview, and your worldview gives direction to your calendar. And if you can start to understand God's revolutionary view on time, eternal, not earthly, then you will understand time differently from the rest of your world, and your calendar will look a lot different. For example, Jesus. He's in a house, and all these people are coming. They're flooding around this house, and they're sick, they're lame, they're poor, they're needy. They want to see Jesus. There's Pharisees. Like everyone and their mom is outside of this house. The apostles go out, they see how many people, they're like, oh, we need Jesus. Jesus, you need to get out there. These people want to see you. This is your whole MO. You need to go heal some people, save some people. Like, they need to see that you can work miracles so they'll believe in you. And Jesus said what? He said, no. Which might be shocking to you. Jesus said, no. I'm not going to go out there. Actually, I'm going to go out the back door, and I'm going to go into the woods, and I'm going to pray. The apostles are like, what? Why would you do that? And the reason is because Jesus had an eternal mindset. He said, you know what? I could go out there, but I have a mission to accomplish. And I need to go talk to God the Father before I can do anything else. You see, he knew what was sacred because God was at the center and his calendar reflected accordingly. He said, no. I came to do the will of my Father. And right now, this is not what I need to be doing. This is incredibly instructive to us. That's how we should begin to manage time, with the view of eternity, not the things of this world. Eternal priorities and sacred principles should be driving our calendars. In fact, in Luke 12, Jesus is talking. He's telling a parable. He says, hey, this really rich dude, like the Elon Musk of his time, like this is Bill Gates, dude's got money. It says, literally, he was filling his barns. For us, he's filling his bank accounts. He's doing well, and the guy realizes how well he's doing. He rubs his hands together, and he says, hey, everything's good. Let's eat, drink, be merry. Maybe tomorrow we'll die, so let's just have fun today. It's all good. And Jesus said, oh, you fool. You have a lot of time, and you have a lot of money, but you've missed it. You forgot to include God in it. See, actually, tonight, your soul will be required of you. What will you do with all the things you've accumulated? See, if you don't include God with your time and your money, Jesus is saying you're wasting your life. If you don't solve calendar with eternity in mind, Jesus says you're wasting your life. There's two different perspectives that you can have on world, your life. See, you can either waste your life without God or you can waste your life with God. And right now you're thinking, did he just say what I think he just said? Yeah. I said you could waste your life without God or you could waste your life with God. What do I mean by that? The world says, let's eat, drink, be merry, for tomorrow we could die. So let's just live it up now. And if you live for God, you will waste your life. You could listen to the world and waste your life with God. But Jesus says, no, actually, that's wasting your life. Now, actually, building your life around worldly things, having an eternal, earthly mindset is wasting everything. You should include God in your time and in your money. I think that's why Paul says in Colossians 3:10, put on your new nature. Be renewed as you learn to know your Creator and become more like Him. In other words, since you have a new core, since you have a new view, since you have Christ at the center, you should have a new calendar. It should look different. Some things need to die so that you can give life to other things that will bring the marriage, the family, and the dating relationship that you've always wanted. And a lot of those things are earthly things that need to die so that you can build an eternal calendar. See, once you get that, this next part will come to life. And the next one really brings life to this, and it's the second well-timed, eternally minded lesson, and it says this. If it's not in your calendar, it's not sacred. Last week I gave you some homework, and I said, go make some sacred things for your family. What is going to be sacred? Like togetherness, God first, gumption. What's going to be sacred for you? Here's the thing. If you don't put it in your calendar, it's not sacred. It's just a bunch of words. Luckily for us, Paul, in the end of Colossians 3, beginning of Colossians 4, starts to give us practical, very easy things that need to be in your life now that you have an eternally minded calendar. Now that Christ is at the center, Paul says, these are just some simple things that you should have in your calendar. This is sacred. And before we jump into that, I want you to do something for me. Let's have some fun. Make sure you're not falling asleep. I'm not boring you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Message Bible, and I'm going to go through the things that Paul says need to be sacred and in your calendar. And when I say them, the scripture, I want you to say, but that's going to take time. You got it? Good? We got it? Let's try it one time. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then you say, but that's going to take time. 1, 2, 3. I love y'all. Y'all are awesome. Okay, what is the first scripture? Can you put it up there? Let the word of Christ, the message, the Bible, have the run of your house and run your life. It would. letting the Bible have the priority, giving time to the Bible every single day, making sure you spend time in the Word would take time. It'll take a lot of time. What's the next verse? It says, and sing your hearts out to God. You're going to get tired of this real quick, but that would take time. Church should have a priority. You should be at church. It should be sacred. Why? Because now you have an eternal mindset, and now that you have an eternal mindset, your calendar should look different, and that's why church should have a priority. But it'll take time. It'll take a lot of time. What's the next one? Wives, understand and support your husbands. That's going to take a lot of time. By submitting to them in ways that honor the master. But that would take time. I only heard women that time. That would take a lot of time. Marriage takes time. It takes a lot of time. What's the next one? Husbands, go all out in love for your wives. Do not take advantage of them. But that would take time. Marriage takes time. I can say it from now if y'all want, just in case you're tired of it. Let's go to the next one. Children, do what your parents tell you. Woo-hoo-hoo! Children, you paying attention? This delights the master to no end. But that's going to take some time, right? Your family should take time. Remember, Paul is writing. This is coming straight from Colossians. Go to the next one. Parents, don't come down too hard on your children or you'll crush their spirits. But that's going to take time. Thank you. Parenting will take time. It will. What's the next one? Servants, do what you're told by your earthly masters and don't just do the minimum that will get you by. Do your best. But that will take time. Your career will always take time. And the last one, pray diligently. But that will take time. What is Paul saying? Paul is saying that your calendars will start to look different. These things should be in them. They are sacred. Plus, whatever you came up with last week needs to work its way into your calendar. Why? Because you have an eternal mindset, not an earthly mindset. I want to go back to the paragraph that I read at the beginning of all this. It says, since Jesus is at the center, since Jesus is now at your center, new things become sacred, holy, set apart, and then we put the sacred into our calendar. Otherwise, the busy will crowd out the important. The hustle and bustle of life will always push away the sacred. Maybe that's why Jesus said, no, I'm not going to go heal those people. I'm going to go out to the back and spend time with the Father because I need to know His will, and I came to do the will of the Father. I'm going to go die on a cross so I can save everybody, not just a few people outside of that door. No, I came for something much bigger. See, Jesus knew this. Paul knew this. And here's another lesson that you need to learn so that you can start solving calendar efficiently. It's the third well-timed lesson. It says, put sacred things in your calendar first. Put the sacred things in your calendar first. It sounds so simple, but there's an illustration that I heard a long time ago. When I first got hired here, the old lead pastor, Craig Walker, he made me read a book. And that book was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Has anybody ever read that? Yeah. So in that book, Craig's daughter has read it. That's awesome. He made you read it too? Yeah, okay. He made us read it. And in this book, Stephen Covey talks about time. He talks about how people manage their time. And if you've read this book and you know where I'm going, I would challenge you, are you living this way? Are you making time the way that he challenged? Or have you fallen back into what a lot of people in the world fall into? He ultimately says this, there's 2 different ways you can handle time. There's 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, so many days in a month, and we all wish we had more. We wish there was a 13th hour, an 8th day, and another week in the month. We really want more, but the problem is we would just fill it right up and wish there was even more time. We would. He said there's a problem. See, people don't know you can choose how you use your time. They just go through life and they don't think about it too much. And what ends up happening is all the crap. I'm sorry if I offends you. It's all the crap, the junk, the stuff that you don't want to deal with. This is the text. This is the phone calls. You answer the phone and it's like the person you get stuck on the phone with for an hour and you're like, why did I answer this phone call? This is like, Netflix, YouTube, emails that aren't important at all, but you somehow spend 2 hours on them. This is just the junk. right? And it slowly fills our time. If we're not careful, it will take over. And then there's the smaller rocks. These are the things that are important, but if you push them off a little bit, it would be okay. Like mowing the lawn, you could push it out a couple days until the HOA gets really mad and Carter Ranch comes running. Or, this is like answering those emails that you could push out a couple days, and it's not important if you actually do it right now. Feeding the kids, it's not that important. That's a joke. You could push off the grocery store just a little bit, and they start to take over your life, and they start falling everywhere. And before you know it, the busy will crowd out the important. The busy will crowd out the sacred, because now all you have left is some time for family, and you got a little time for Bible, and there's a little time for church, and let's get a little marriage in there, and there's some parenting, and here's gumption, and here we're going to try to figure out some other God first and togetherness, and it's just, and we figure out that there's not enough time. And most people get stuck in this, wishing that they had more time. Because all these important things keep falling. We keep dropping the ball. We keep wishing that there was more. See, last week I told you that if you want this life, the marriage, the dating relationship, the family that you've always wanted, then some things are going to have to die. Some things with earthly value are going to have to go away, and your eternal mindset's going to have to take over so that you can have more time. It's that important. See, Stephen Covey says there's another way you could handle your time. It's better. And here's what's beautiful. You can choose to do this. You don't have to have any special talents. You don't have to know anything. You just handle your time different. He says, why don't you start with the sacred things first? Now that Jesus is at the center, now that you know what's sacred, let's put those in the calendar first. Let's grab a couple more from back here. Let's put these in. Here's some time for family, and here's some time for Bible, and here's some time for church, and here's some time for marriage, and here's some time for parenting and career. That's a big one. And here we go. There's some time for gumption. Let's take one from over here. We're going to take extra. He says, because we need to solve calendar correctly. Build solid first. Build sacred first. And then the things are going to come, like mowing the lawn, feeding the children, doing things you have to do, sports, and everything that are there that you love, and they're just going to be there. Uh-oh, we going to make it? He says, what's so interesting? What's so interesting is what you'll find is that when the little things come in your life that usually take up time, like the texts, the emails, the YouTube, the Netflix, and it just kind of works its way in. And what you'll end up figuring out is that you can actually fit a lot more that way than the other way. And here's what's beautiful, is you can choose which life you want to live. You can choose what you have time for and what you don't have time for. See, this way pushes out the important. This way pushes out the sacred. This way makes you feel like you need more time. This way gives you everything you already wanted, but saves time for what was sacred and what was solid. Every single time. See, that's why I think Paul says, put your mind on the things of heaven. Know what is sacred. Know what is solid. It blew my mind the first time I saw that. And I hope that it blew yours. I hope that it makes you really think how you're going to use time. And that right there leads us to the fourth point that I want you to get. This is how you solve calendar even more effectively. 4 is create a closed for business sign for your family. Create a closed for business sign for your family. See, my favorite ever story is Truett Cathy. Do y'all know who Truett Cathy is? The CEO of Chick-fil-A. Dude builds a fast food joint, and he says, hey, let's close for a whole day. That's a great idea, right? That's going to make a lot of money. And he closes on a Sunday when it's a bunch of Christians. It's a Christian company, and let's close on the day that they might go to church and then come and eat our food. I think there's a reason why he did it. I think he did it because he knows work is important, but family is too. I think Stephen Covey knew what was at the center. Stephen Covey, Truett Cathy, there we go, Truett Cathy. He knew what was at the center. And since he knew what was at the center, which was Jesus, he was able to build some things that were sacred. And since he knew what was sacred, like family, like church, like marriage, it led him to solve calendar correctly, which made him close his fast food joint on a Sunday. And here's the thing, they're doing pretty good. God's still blessing it. And he still has this life right here. He doesn't have this. He's built a franchise around that. And they're still doing pretty good. You can choose. What's going to be your closed for business sign? Because work is a great life, but it's not your only life. See, Craig was very good at this, the old lead pastor. He taught me how to do this really well. He said, Josh, just talking pastors, I'm sure everybody can identify, but when people come to you, it's going to be the most important time of their life where they need you to come through. Josh, we're going to get married. We need you to marry us. Can you please come through for us? Josh, we just had a death in our family. We need you to do the funeral. Can you please be there? Josh, our marriage is on the rocks. We need some counseling. Can you please come help us? Hey, Josh, we really need some help here. And when people come, it's going to be very important. And you got to learn to say no. You've got to learn to say no. Why? Because work is a great life, but family is important too. And if you can't build your family and love your family, then you can't love the church. So you need to figure out when you have a closed for business sign on your door so that you can fight for your family and the things that are sacred. And so I'll tell you 2 times you will never get a hold of me. Fridays and 5:30 to 7:30 on a weekday. You will not get a hold of me on a Friday. The church could burn down. I'll take care of it on Saturday. It's just I'm not going to do it. Why? Because I want to fight for family. I want to fight for the things that are sacred. I'm telling you, I could leave. They could find another lead pastor, and I bet Lifeway would do fine. You don't need me every single day. It could go on without me. And that means I don't need to neglect my family to fight for the work life that I love. Now, do I love it? For some reason, God called me here, and I enjoy every second, absolutely. But I'm not going to trade this for family, which is actually more important. I'm not going to do it. And so Fridays, you won't get a hold of me, and the second someone calls me and starts talking about work, I'll say, hey, I can't talk about it. We're not going to do it. What else? Let's talk about something else. Or on 5:30 to 7:30, I'll drive home, I'll get there, and then I turn my phone off. And here's what's crazy. When I turn my phone off from 5:30 to 7:30, not a lot of calls come in after 7:30. But when I let those calls bleed in to our family, and I take a call real quick, it's 6 o'clock, but let me just do this, and then it's 7:30, and then it's 8:30, and then it's 9, and for some reason, calls just keep coming in when I allow them to. And I've been taken away over and over and over. See, I've chosen, we're in the closed for business signs, Lindsay and I, so that we can have the marriage that we've always wanted. Some old things had to die so that we could give life to something else to chase what we're fighting for, keeping it together when the pressures of life come. And I want to help you really quickly in 3 questions figure out when your closed for business sign is. When are you going to turn it off? And the first question you need to answer is, when are you going to quit? What time are you just going to shut it down? At 5 o'clock every day, no matter where I'm at, unless we have an elders meeting or a meeting for dinner or something, I'm going to go home at 5 o'clock. You might think, that's great, Josh, but I could never do that. And I would say, I could easily say that too. I could. Very easily say that. But when are you going to go home and turn it off? And the second question helps you answer the first question. When do you not want to be interrupted? See, Lindsay and I, this is not biblical. This isn't a 10 commandment. This isn't like something you have to do. But Lindsay and I, we just know when we don't want to be interrupted. When I'm at work, I'm at work. I'm in the zone, and if you call me and you want to chat or you want to talk about what to get from the grocery store, I'm just going to say, I cannot talk. See you later. Now, I'm not that rude. Maybe sometimes I'll get in trouble, but I'm not that rude all the time, right? And she just knows when I'm on, so that when I go home, I can be on for family. And the same goes for her when she's writing a book and she's in the office and she's typing away. I'll take the dogs, I'll now take the kid, I'll cook dinner, do laundry, do the dishes, whatever I need to do so she can be 100% in on that book, and I'll be 100% on out here so that when we come together, we can be 100% together. When do you need to quit and when do you not want to be interrupted? And the last one is, what's your rule for your phone? I'm all for phones. I was the crazy youth pastor who took kids and let them bring their phones, and we just regulated it. We took them up at night, did some things, but we let them have their phones. But I also believe that your phone will hollow out your family faster than anything. It will. So when are you going to turn it off? Is it for dinners? Is it when you get home for a couple hours? What is it going to be so that you can start fighting for the marriage, the family that you've always wanted? When do you need to be together? Maybe some things need to change, like mom or dad's always gone to the store and someone else watched the kids and you're just at home, and maybe you could go do that together. Or maybe you can do the yard work together. The kids are freaking out that I said that right now. You could do the yard work together. How can you fight for togetherness? How can you fight for God first? How can you solve calendar around what is sacred? That's the question you need to answer. How do you solve calendar around what is sacred? You've got to find a way to say that work is a priority and family is a priority and make the two work in your calendar together. If not, one will usually beat out the other, and the one that beats the other out is usually work, and family suffers. Last service, a lady came up to me and she said, hey, you don't understand how much this meant, because my father-in-law was a pastor and his family used to say he's saving the world while his family goes to hell because he never would go home. Make sure your family doesn't do that or think that way, because you're out saving the world at your job, but you've left them to suffer. It's real. It happens. Make sure that's not you. Because your worldview, how you view the world, dictates how you use your time and view your time. And if what is sacred are these things, then your calendar should reflect accordingly. And then you can choose what kind of time you want to spend. Are you going to let it be filled with the junk, or are you going to plan accordingly? Here's another thing that's really hard for a lot of families that I want to try to speak into just for 2 seconds is sports. Sports can be sacred. That is okay. But what does that look like for your family when it comes to church? Because church should be sacred also. I've talked to some families and they say, hey, for these 3 months, we're all on when it comes to sports. And that's okay. But don't let your kids think that church is optional because you're always gone. But when you're home, then be at church. Why? Because it's sacred. Why is it sacred? Because you have an eternal mindset. Why do you have an eternal mindset? Because Christ is the center and you believe that he died for you and you follow him because he's your king. What does that look like, and do your kids know it? Do they understand it? How do you make two things work? And so here is your homework. I want you to go and I want you to solve calendar today. I want you to get an entire month out, and I want you to put the big rocks in first. Write down, this is when I'm at my job. This is when I'm going to cut it off. This is when my phone's off. This is when we're going to fight for family. This is when we're going to fight for marriage. We're going to go on a date every couple days, once a week, 3 times a month. I don't know what it is. We're going to fight whatever it takes for what is sacred. And that happens when you solve calendar together. How do you solve calendar? As a family, as a married couple, as a dating relationship, and then how do you tackle the small rocks? How do you tackle the groceries? How do you tackle the lawn? How do you tackle all the little things that come your way that aren't really horrible if you don't put them off for a little bit, but you need to tackle them eventually? How, as a family, do you do that? So that when all the other stuff comes, there won't be as much time for it, or it'll just work its way in. It'll figure out where to go. But you'll always keep the solid things together. Can you do that for me today? And you might be thinking, I don't have time to solve calendar. Yep. You might want to, so that you can have the family, the dating relationship, and the marriage you've always wanted. Let's pray. Lord, I pray that your wisdom spoke, and you spoke through me to your children. And you're fighting for families, you're fighting for marriages, you're fighting for dating relationships right now as you challenge them in their hearts, and maybe their spirits are moving so that they can go solve calendar, and they feel like they should. Lord, I just pray that you help us keep it together when the pressures of life come, and we can be a solid family with you at the center and not let the world and the ideologies and the principles hollow us out. Lord, we love you, we thank you, and it's in your son's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Well, hey, I love y'all. A couple things before you leave is, one, if you are brand new, we want to meet you. There's a connection card in your worship guide. There's a blue desk right out there. Fill it out. Take it there. We have a gift for you. No strings attached. We just want you to have something fun, and we want to meet you and get to know who you are. So please do that. If this is your first time, this is not for you. There's a giving envelope in your worship guides, and if you call Lifeway your church home, we would challenge you to just worship God in the way that you feel led to do, and giving your first 10% or wherever you feel grace giving to to God. It's between you and him. And so drop those in the worship boxes on your way out. Third, come back as we solve conflict. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Solve conflict. This part wasn't rehearsed. Together, I love you all. Have a great, good weather Sunday. You are dismissed.
What's up, Lifeway? I'm Brandon, and it's another awesome Sunday here. We've got a lot of fun stuff going on, so real quick, let's dive into some upcoming happenings. This week, we got hit with some actual fall weather, and it got us even more excited for our Fall Frenzy event coming up next Sunday, October 28th, from 4 to 6 p.m. It'll be held outside of Celina Junior High, and we'll have fun fall family games, pumpkin painting, candy prizes, and more. As we're all prepping for Lifeway Kids Fall Frenzy, we're accepting candy donations at the kids' kiosk all month. Operation Christmas Child has begun for us. If you haven't heard about it, this is one of our favorite events of the year, where we send some love outside of the United States to children affected by war, poverty, natural disaster, famine, and disease, just by filling a shoebox with small items for them to open. It's something that we can all participate in, and it makes a huge difference to kids across the globe. If you want to join in, grab some info today out in the foyer. Whether you're brand new to Lifeway or you've been attending for a while but want to dive deeper into what we're all about here at the church, we've got the perfect event coming up. Our next Discovering Lifeway partnership class is on November the 4th, right after the service. This is a great time for you to really discover the mission that God has called us to as a church body, and we'd love to have you, so go ahead and sign up on your connection card today. Well, that's it, Lifeway. As always, if you want to stay in touch with what's happening during the week, you can hop on over to our Facebook page and give us a like. We keep everything up to date there as well. We love you all, and we're so excited for another great Sunday with 2 services.